everyone. I took my mask off so you can hear me, so you don't feel like you're being held up with the black mask. Welcome. Very pleased to see your enthusiasm and willingness to come out. The world has obviously changed a lot, but we're trying to make sure spacing and all that is for your comfort, safety, meal and so on served. So we'll try and keep this format going into the future. We have a couple of business items for the end of the meeting as far as membership and potential venue or venues we can look at. I'll address that later, but more importantly, I'd like to get the meeting underway. One item you'll see on your tables and banner at the back, there's a virtual conference of which MEGS is a sponsor, so feel free, there is no charge to register, and you're welcome to partake on those 2 days. We've moved off the in-person event live for a lot of reasons into mid-November, and we'll have more information on that later. For today, we are pleased to have one of our valued services, Micromine, and Byron over on my left. We look the same with a mask. Anyway, Byron's going to address us as far as Micromine's services and so on, and they've been first class, also supporter of the event today, in terms of the donation. And further, I'll turn it over to Dr. Zakari Kapsova, who will introduce our speaker. And that, of course, is John Keating, who is the president and CEO of PJX. And we'll get things underway so that we're not too late. And John's presentation will be about 35, 45 minutes. We obviously have time for questions, and hopefully everyone had a chance to get lunch as well. So welcome and thank you. Byron, if you may.
So while Hooper is doing that, I'll just quickly introduce myself. My name is Byron Sokas. I'm a resource geologist. I'm also the business development manager for Micromine Canada. Hopefully we'll get our visuals up here soon. But just to let you know, I started my career here in Calgary with a little company called Encana, and then moved into a smaller company called Talisman. And after 5 years of that, and watching the price of gas go to zero, decided to switch gears and ended up in the world of coal mining. That was a bad move. The price of that went to pretty much zero as well. So I had enough of that, packed my bags, and decided that's enough of the minus 40, and I went to Australia for 5 years, where I decided I hate plus 40 just as much as I hate minus 40. So I ended up coming back here, and along the way I picked up a couple of business degrees, so I started getting more involved in the business side of things as well, and here we are today. I've been working for Micromine for the past year. And we still don't have a visual, but as you'll see in a second, we basically, long story short, provide exploration and mining software to the industry. So in Australia, I should have mentioned, that's where I switched gears in a big way. And I worked for Rio Tinto there for 5 years, and I got more involved in the mineral exploration world. And haven't really looked back at the oil and gas world, which has been okay up until last week, where, the price of oil is looking good again, but for the past 5 years, it seemed like a good move, so here we are. Still no? No.
You just need to adjust the source on it.
Well, Byron, we should know which element you're most exposed to so that we can run away from it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, fair enough.
Oh, wow.
I have the same touch, except it's in a couple of categories.
Input select.
Jim, wherever I move, guaranteed to get elected is anti-business. It follows me around. There's been talk about maybe,
keep the computer cool.
You know, a metaphor for Detroit.
What do you call them?
When we moved to Detroit,
Well, I'm a technician. What do you think? For some odd reason, it acts weird because the input, if it's used too much, after a while it wiggles and we're out a little.
it was just extraordinary,
Yep, sure does.
just at the same time, you know, anyway, you all those strand trees. Say,
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, so I got a couple of slides to go through real quick here. Don't let it overwhelm you, we'll definitely blow through it quickly. But again, that's us, we're Micromine. Sorry for the extremely dark background, but apparently we like dark colors. So yes, we advertise ourselves as next generation technology for mining, which is not 100% accurate because we also do cover the space of exploration quite well. Namely through our product Micromine. Yeah, products, name is the company name. Until you look at our other products, then we decided to change the name of that, just to confuse everyone royally. But basically our Micromine product covers the entire gambit of exploration, modeling, and of course 3D mine design. And we also do things such as, we have this one here, actually, sorry, this is a visualization tool, so that, let's say a CEO or somebody else is doing a presentation, doesn't necessarily need to know the software, they can just load up this little smaller version of the program and then start presenting things pretty easily. They can cut cross sections through their deposits, they can do whatever they like with it, they just can't build anything with it. Pit rams are real-time fleet management and mine control systems, so that's basically more focused on our mining clients, and I won't be touching on that here today. Geobanks are a complementary product for Micromine, which is basically our database solution for exploration work. And Geobank Mobile is our field acquisition tool, basically tablets with something that looks a lot like Excel that can then directly be uploaded into the Micromine modeling software. Okay, so why do people choose Micromine? We've been around for a very long time, 35 years, making software in the industry. We're very innovative. We're extremely committed to R&D and development. We release our software, updates our software twice a year. Very intuitive piece of software. I've had the pleasure of being an early adopter of software in my career, and the way software has advanced has been unbelievable. And programs like Micromine have still managed to keep it pretty user-friendly and easy to learn. We're local, we're global, we're everywhere you need to be, and we have quite a bit of support that we offer to all our clients. So we have four core capabilities that we like to talk to. The first one up here, as you can see, is visualize and communicate essential project information, optimize exploration programs, superior modeling and estimation capabilities, and advance projects quickly and efficiently. So the first one here. So basically what we're talking about there is we're really pretty. We give you the ability to take your self-service deposits and make them look really good. This works with CEOs, it works with the IR team, it works with the geos. Everyone likes their data to look nice and pretty, and we do that on a pretty much intuitive platform that's pretty easy to see. Very powerful GIS engine behind it. So anything that you get in a program like ArcGIS or AutoCAD, we completely duplicate within our own software program. A little tiny to see here, but there's an example of a deposit that we've been working on in the past. And yeah, it just gives you a feel for what the software looks like and just how much versatility that you can have with it. The important thing about Micromine, unlike some other packages out there, it gives you full control of how you want to view your data to the point where you can start writing scripts or even code in Python if you have that skill set. I don't, I just let the software do whatever it wants. We are Microsoft Gold partners, so everything looks like Microsoft. And that's good for me because the only program everyone uses all the time is something from Microsoft. So if you know how to use Excel or Word, you know how to use Micromine. It's a pretty simple layout. You click the ribbon buttons on the top and it takes you exactly where you need to go. Optimized exploration program. So this is by far the best feedback that we get on our software. There's really nobody out there that has data validation, QA, QC tools the way we do. They're absolutely outstanding. You could import your data directly into Micromind, do the QA QC in there without having to go back and forth 10 times in order to get it cleaned up. You can clean it right up in there, and of course the validation tools behind it are outstanding. It won't let you build a model incorrectly. Okay, so again, a lot of functionality that I won't get into too much detail, otherwise we'll be here all day and half of you will fall asleep and the other half will be throwing things at me, so we'll just skip over that and let you know that basically anything any software out there can do in the world of exploration, we have a tool for it. There's absolutely nothing we don't cover. So this also goes into our GIS tools, and as I mentioned before, we have an extremely robust GIS engine, and it's extremely fast. We benchmarked it against other software. It's one of the feedbacks that we keep getting, especially from our larger clients who benchmark our software as well. And the software basically doesn't crash, and it runs quickly. Unlike other providers there as well, our software is all-inclusive, or you can break it down to just what you need. So the reason I bring that up is some of our competitors out there, in order to get an equivalent product, you have to buy 2 or 3 different bits of software. Since we cover the entire gambit, you don't need something specific for your exploration program. You don't need a specific implicit modeler. You don't need a specific ArcGIS program. Ours includes it all, or you just take the bits and pieces that you want out of it. Either way works for us. Superior modeling and estimation capability. So this is by far where the future is going, and by far where we put the most amount of effort into research and development. And our newest release of Micromind, which is coming out next month, is literally going to blow everything away. So long story short with that, our ability to generate 3D models are not just quick, easy, and accurate, they're also transparent. So that means anyone can walk up to it and audit it, which means you don't have a black box of how a model is generated in the background and no one knows how anything works. We're one of the only few providers out there that provides both explicit and implicit modeling services in the same package. So you could go ahead and even correct what the computer generated in the implicit modeler, which is very handy when it comes time. Every now and then these things don't do these things perfectly, and it requires a human every now and then. So we give you the ability to actually go in there and fix things like solids and surfaces and the wireframes that generate the models. Here's another example of what the modeling process looks like. Those are polylines that were drawn or computer generated. I'm not sure if this was done explicitly or implicitly. And then the surfaces were more than likely just, they were automatically generated by the software. So as you can see, the structure is being formed here and now populate through. Okay, advanced projects quickly and efficiently. I won't touch into this. I'm a geologist, and this mostly delves into the mining capabilities of our software. The only thing I will mention is we are robust. So as your companies grow, we can grow with you as far as the software that we provide. It's all modular, it's all prorated, so you don't have to pay for anything you ever want. And as you do grow, we will step it up to match your needs of your business. So we do cover every bit of that process, right down to underground mining. Our point cloud tools are outstanding, definitely out there leading the market at this point, to the point where competitors are even asking us what we're doing. And again, I won't get too much into this, but for any mine engineers in the room, well, we do all the scheduling and everything else that you guys need to do that usually used to put me to sleep when I was a geologist at a mine. So I'm more than happy to talk about that to anyone individually, but for now, I'll just quickly mention that we do cover every aspect from scheduling, mine design, haulage, you name it, right down to fleet control systems, mine control systems, dispatch, you name it. All right, so as I already mentioned, we do have a new update every year, twice a year actually. So our R&D team is massive. We have a team based in Russia and a team based in Australia. They do most of our R&D work. And basically every 6 months we update and upgrade the software. Our goal is not just to play catch up, but to get ahead of all our competitors. And we are definitely on pace to be doing that in short order. I won't get into this too much, but basically we have some pretty robust tools, dynamic anisotropy being one of them, that a lot of our competitors actually don't have any kind of workflow for as well. So we're definitely able to provide a very robust set of tools. All right, what's coming up over the next year? Good news is this PowerPoint presentation is about 6 months old, and we do update the software every 6 months, and we've actually done all of this. And we've actually gone a couple of steps further. Our geostatistical analysis and visualization tools, most people have to buy a separate piece of software to really get something robust. We include that within our own software package as well. Point cloud data sets, I mentioned that. Every day it seems like we're coming out with something new in implicit modeling. I was talking to this gentleman here about the future of AI, and that's exactly where that's going as well. All right, R&D, yeah, again, that's a huge component of what we do and who we are. And of course, the machine learning and how to update our block models, removing the human factor out of it to some degree is definitely important for us. It's definitely the way the world is going. As a geologist, I like to believe that, we're never going to be replaced, but I think it was 2004 or 5 when I saw that little Mars rover land and drill a hole into a rock and take a sample. I knew my career was over right there and then, just a matter of when. So yeah, as I mentioned, we're very adaptable. The software can grow as big or as small as you need it for any size project, right down to I have one property and we drilled 10 holes this year, right through to the mega miners that we deal with. And we have a price to match all of that as well. So basically the way our licensings work is we have bundles, as I've been describing. So basically if you only need one part of our software, we have a bundle for that. If you need the whole suite, we have all of that as well. We do subscription-based pricing, so we have an annual fee for our license, and of course that depends on what you actually want out of our software. Yeah, we have option for networking and cloud computing as well. The big one for us is free training, and I like to spend a little bit of time on that because it's not just free training, we basically work with you. We are always looking for partners to do case studies with. We are always more than happy to go the extra mile. I'm talking right down to a lot of people, I don't want to learn new software. Great, no problem, we understand. I don't want to learn new software either. We literally will walk you through the entire process. We'll load your data for you. We'll even model it for you and train your people along the way. And we do that at no additional cost, which is unheard of in the industry. This is really complicated, but just kind of shows a breakdown of the various bundles that we offer. So we have an Explorer bundle, which is basically for the small junior exploration companies when they're just running drill programs. We have a geology modeler, which is basically that, and also our implicit and explicit modeler. We're the only provider that gives you both for the same price. And then when you get into block modeling and actually developing your PEAs and feasibility studies, then our resource modeler would kick in there. And of course, if you're going into feasibility, we have more modules of that, which would include all our mine planning stuff as well. And of course, it just goes on from there, depending on what you need. Okay, so Micromine 21.5 is here. It was here 6 months ago. Micromine 22.0 will be here next month, and we're really looking forward to that. More than happy to share any information with anyone who's interested in seeing more of that directly, and happy to schedule a demo for anyone that thinks it's relevant for their businesses as well. You guys have any questions? Okay. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to you guys here. And I'll be in the back corner here if anyone wants to talk to me, and my business cards are up front as well. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. No worries.
I don't know if it's better, I don't know if you can hear me on this or it's just better speaking, but I'll talk into the mic anyways. Thank you very much for having us, Bukera, and Willie and Stephanie. It's been a year and a half that I haven't given a presentation, so this is a new presentation, so you are the guinea pigs. I apologize. It's probably a little longer than I expect, so I'll try to rush through a few things and skip some stuff. One of the challenges, yeah, okay, go ahead.
Before I introduce John, we have to mention that Micromine gave a free training to MPGS members back in June. And they're partnering with us, and they will be giving another free training, Introduction to Micromine, and at the second advanced level in the year to come. So stay in tune for that perhaps as well. Our next presenter is John Kading. I actually met John in 2017 at Mineral Staff. We discussed briefly and then made plan for him to give a presentation this year. So when I contacted the company, they're like, okay, the 17th, they're good to go. So we thank John for filling in for today. John has over 35 years of experience in the mining industry, and he conducted early and advanced stage exploration with Noranda and was a global commodity analyst for precious and base metal and negotiated the resolution of tariff and non-tariff barrier to trade and metals for the federal government. In 2010, John co-founded PGX Resources and listed the company through IPO in 2011. John has a BSc in geology from Concordia University. Today's presentation will be the company's work in the Solomon mining district that are over 40 billion worth of zinc, lead, and silver metals. Thanks, John.
Thank you very much. Yeah, to start off, when I was with Noranda back in the 80s, I came up with some ideas on how we can identify large mineral systems. I mean, to really find new deposits, we need large mineral systems. And one of those ways was to look at the global perspective on structures and where mineralization is occurring. What I've done is we prepared this short 3-minute video, and we just released it yesterday along with announcing one of our new targets in the Cranbrook area. We're located in southeastern British Columbia. I'm just going to play this for you as a background to why we decided on the Cranbrook area. Let's see if it'll work here. Oh, there's no volume. I guess it's not going to work.
Yeah. Use the speakers on the laptop.
Pardon me?
Use the speakers on the laptop.
The speaker's on high. Oh, it's too bad.
It's because it's going off the
It's going off
project.
that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll turn it off then. I'll just go straight to the presentation. And I can probably explain it here. PGX Resources. There we go. Junior company, trade on the TSXV under PGX Resources. This is our disclaimer, and yes, I will be making forward-looking statements that may or may not come to fruition. I think everyone here knows how that works. This is the Sullivan Mining District, what we call the Vulcan Gold Belt. You're looking at the Canada-US border right here. And the Alberta border would be off to the right. This is the Republic Gold Mining Camp here in northern Washington. Produced about over 5 million ounces of gold. The Roslyn Copper Gold Mining Camp, over 2.5 million ounces of gold. I'm going to switch to a different pointer. Probably easier to see. Then we have the Sheep Creek Camp here, about 800,000 ounces of gold. Now we come to the Cranbrook area here. Why are we here? This gray line, dash line here, and this gray dash line here represents a Vulcan tectonic zone. It was discovered in Vulcan, Alberta, drilling for oil. They went through the cover rocks into the Archean. And what they intersected was a big structural zone, similar to what we'd have in Ontario called the Destor-Porcupine Fault Zone, or the Larder Cadillac Break, that are instrumental in where you'd find the Timmins Mining Camp, Kirkland Lake, and others. Now that deformation zone comes through, and Dr. Kanaswich from the University of Age traced it through to Cranbrook. This is Cranbrook right here. Dr. Trig Hoy, who's a board member on PJX, traced it through to the Republic Camp. So this big structural feature sits down underneath the cordillera. And it's influential throughout history in the formation of not only the Republic Camp, but the Roslyn, Sheep Creek, and even the Sullivan deposit 1.5 billion years ago. What's really interesting is where this structural zone intersects the Rocky Mountain Trench Fault. That's right here. And if you trace the Rocky Mountain Trench Fault to the north, you go into the Tatina Fault Zone up in the Yukon and Alaska. And that's where you get the Pogo, Fort Knox, Brewery Creek deposits. So we have these two major structural zones, both with gold along them, and the only place they intersect is here in North America. And what we end up with is 60 kilometers, you can see the scale here, 40 kilometers, 60 kilometers of placer gold in the creeks. No one's ever found the source of these creeks, 3 separate creeks. started a gold rush in 1864. It was in 1890 that they discovered the Sullivan Mine. Everybody's attention went to base metals. So here we have a huge mineralizing system, and in 2010, when the 2001, the Sullivan closed, and in 2010, the economy after the subprime loan disaster fell apart, and all these juniors were leaving the industry to go into Bitcoin and cannabis. We came in and started accumulating. And what we've done, here's the city of Cranbrook and Kimberley right here, Sullivan Mine here, and as Bucara mentioned, the Sullivan produced just in a zinc, lead, and silver metal extracted from the concentrate would be in today's metal prices valued at over $40 billion, operated for 90 years. So when tech moved out, ground came open. What we've done is we've spent the time consolidating all this ground, you see here. So we have over 500 square kilometers or 50,000 hectares of land. We have the Dooney Trail property, Zinger, the Parker Copper, the Eddy, the Goldshire, the Vine, the West Basin, and the DD. The yellow dots are all gold target areas that we've identified over the years. The red dots are either copper or lead, zinc, silver, similar to the Sullivan. This is the Vulcan tectonic zone. There's the Rocky Mountain Trend Fault. The yellow little claims you see here, these little yellow spots on Moye Creek, Perry Creek, and Waterworks, are all placer mining claims active today. Notice how it's only these three creeks, and they parallel the Vulcan tectonic zone, which is at depth. You don't see it out here. You don't see it out here. It's right in here, and that's what our focus was. So what we've done is we essentially identified a large mineralizing system in an existing mining camp, and we call it the Vulcan Gold Belt. And nobody has discovered the gold deposits. In doing this, we've identified, consolidated all this data, infilled the data gaps, historical data, infilled the data gaps with new mapping, prospecting, geochem sampling, geophysics, drilling, to get these target areas to where they are. What kind of deposits are we going to hopefully discover here? In addition to a Sullivan-type deposit, we have these. This is a block model of how these big mineral systems operate. It was done by Vic Wall and Associates. Now, Vic was the winner of the Goldcorp Challenge in 2000. He and his partners identified the kinematics of gold mineralization in the Red Lake District that allowed Goldcorp to actually become who they are today, by increasing the efficiency of their drilling from 30% success rate to 70% success rate. What Vic did, we met Vic in 2012. When he saw what we were doing, he was familiar with this camp, and he sent us this report, which was awesome. What it shows is a big tectonic feature here. He has big faults and other faults going in this direction. Where they intersect, you get large intrusives because you've got a weakness in the crust coming in. Some of the intrusives come to surface, like in this area. Others stay at depth, and you have little apophyses coming on. The types of deposits you see in here are Fort Knox, right here, number one. Or, I can't even pronounce it, too. Pogo, Moon Tau, granites. I mean, you look at this, the ounces in these things. Fort Knox over 5 million ounces. Pogo over 5 million, it's about 7 million now. Moon Tau is 100 million ounces. Granite's over 13 million. Telfer, 31, it's more like 38 now. Obuasi, 49. Sukhoi Log, 30 million ounces. So this area here where these intrusives come to surface, but then they're at depth and you get the carapace of them, you get the Muruntau, granites, Telfer, Obuasi, Sukhoi Log. Same with over here. When we look at our geology and where we stake our claims, this area here would be where we have our Eddy, Goldshire, Zinger properties. This area here would be where we have our Dooney Trail properties. And that's what Vic saw when he saw what we were doing. So what I want to do now is show you some of the targets. We're not going to go through all these 25, it's way too much. But I want to show you some of these targets to show the significance of these targets and how they've been sitting here in this mining district, unexplored. This is the Dooney Trail property right here. You can see the scale bar at the bottom, that's 20 kilometers. So you've got about 14, 15 kilometers, or 18 kilometers here, strike rate. We have yellow dots, which are gold target areas we've identified to date. There's still more potential. And the red dots, in this case, are all copper. The most advanced targets we have are the Lewis Ridge target area here, and the Taco Basin target area here. The types of deposits we're looking at are either the Sullivan or intrusive related gold copper. This is a cross section I'm going to show you next. It's a schematic that Trigg Hoy did just to show what the geology looks like through this area here, which would be like the Tackle Basin target area. So here on the west side is the Rocky Mountain Trench Fault. You can see down here are the Paleozoic rocks, and above them, above the Hosmer thrust sheet, is our Proterozoic age rocks thrusting on top, with a large anticline fold axis overturn. The oldest rocks were Fort Steele, these are largely quartzites, shallow water. And then we get into deep water, Aldridge, which are turbidites. We have the A1, 2, and 3. And then we go into what are the Creston and C, and those are C1, C2, those are shallow water. Quartzites and argillites. You can see that the package is repeated. We go from the Aldridge into the Creston, then we hit a normal fault at Aldridge, Creston again, another normal fault in Aldridge, Creston again. So this is because of relaxation along these what were probably thrust faults off the Hosmer during extension, and they've come back and they've doubled up the sequences here. This is the Kootenai King horizon quartzite. The Kootenai King was a mine that Cominco mined. It's lead, zinc, silver, similar to the Sullivan, a mini one. It's on strike, it will be out of the page toward us. What are we interested in? Well, if we're looking for gold, we're looking for structure. This big fold axial plane has the axial planar cleavage. You can see here in red. The extension that occurred along these normal faults created these extensional fractures. No one's ever mapped these fractures. We're the first time. You can see how they parallel the slope of the mountain, and it just makes sense. They're planes of weakness that get eroded by the glaciation. We're seeing mineralization coming up along both these, gold mineralization and quartz veining. That's the pathway. So this is a schematic showing how these intrusives are at depth. You can see it in the magnetic data. And they come up along these planes of weakness and go out along them. So this is our Tackle Basin target area, which will be sitting on the limb of this major anticline, and the Lewis Ridge target area, which is actually on the ridge to the north about 4 kilometers. And it is sitting right in the hinge of the fold. Do we have gold? Yes. We've been panning up the creeks in the Tackle Basin. And all the gold that we get, which are these pieces you can see here, they're magnified, we send to Chuck 50. Chuck is the fellow that discovered the first diamond mines in the Northwest Territories in Canada. He's an expert at assessing the distance of transport when looking at grains. You can see the irregular nature of these grains. They're quite angular and a lot of little bumps on them, so they're not rounded. Chuck's assessment is that we're within 400 meters of the source of these grains of gold. This is where we see the best gold. When our rocks are sericite and carbonate altered, these turbidites, you can see them here, and then multi-vein stockworks, where you get anomalous goldenness and up to 30 and over 30 grams per ton out of grab samples. So this is the kind of rock that we have. We know that it's the right type of rock. Paul Clipful with Mineral Resource Services came and looked. He gave us these photos. He said what we have is identical to what you see in these either orogenic, sediment-hosted, thermal aureole gold, whatever you want to call it, type deposits, and this is what we have on our property. What we need to do is find where the deposit is. We have the right rocks, the right minerals, and you can see the large anticline fold. This is on the Lewis Ridge target area. This is just one big anticline across a broad hinge. And it's probably hundreds of meters, 400 meters across. So now, do we have mineralization? Yes. This is a geology map. This is the Tackle Basin target area. This is the Lewis Ridge target area. The black line you see here, running up, is a regular worm-shaped thing. That's our anticline axis. The reason why it has such a shape is because it's an inclined axial plane, so its position on topography will vary depending upon the topography. But it basically strikes north-south, has a slight plunge to the north, and down here we have the Kootenai King deposit of Cominco mine. It's a mini Sullivan, lead zinc silver, and here's the Estella mine. That Cominco mine part of it, it's a big vein like you see under the Sullivan deposit. What you're looking at here are golden soils. Now, what we did is we had a lot of historical data, and we went and infilled that data with more soil sampling, and we gave all this data to a fellow, Colin Dunn, who was formerly with the Geological Survey of Canada. He's a geochemist. And we asked Colin if he can compile all that data. So he went through, reviewed all the methodologies and came up with the data that was compatible. And then he came up with what were the 99 percentile, the 98 percentile, the 96 percentile. So the red dots here, you can't see them, but the 96 percentile is everything that's 65 ppb to 140 ppb. The 98 is 140 to about 190. The next one is about 183 is 183 to 1400. So the red dots you see here are basically everything over the 96 percentile. So we have a really nice soil geochem response in this area, in our Tackle Basin, and one in the Lewis Creek. This is 3 kilometers, by the way. So you're looking at about 10 kilometers across. It's a big area. This is copper. Beautiful copper anomaly, no copper here. This is zinc. Beautiful zinc anomaly on Lewis Ridge and a lead anomaly on Lewis Ridge. No lead, a little bit of zinc down in Tackle. So what we're showing here is that there's two periods of gold mineralization, or 2 styles of gold mineralization. One of them has a lot of other elements with them and the other doesn't. Here, this is arsenic, beautiful arsenic anomaly on Lewis Ridge, and silver, not in the Tackle area. But here you can start to see some arsenic, which is interesting, because when we're looking at things like Sucre Log and some of these other deposits, you want to see some of that. The next, bismuth and molybdenum. This speaks volumes. Look at the bismuth and the molybdenum, not here in Tackle. So what kind of deposits do we have up here? So we have gold, copper, zinc, lead, silver, arsenic, bismuth, and moly. We can have anything from a Sullivan deposit, as Colin said, to an intrusive related gold and or copper system. And we might be in the carapace of it. We're in the right structural environment, right along the fold axis, and that's 3 kilometers. It's still open in this direction. And down here, we can have anything. We can have a telfer, we can have a Sukhoi log, you can have all sorts of deposits in here. This has never been drilled. This has never been drilled. So our plan is, we're flying this area from here all the way up through here. So we're doing about 700 kilometers, magnetotellurics and mag, till it be. We've got the results. We'll be coming out and announcing more about these targets. So that's just this target here. So on the Dooney Trail, we have the Lewis Ridge target, which has both gold and base metal potential, and in the target basin, the target area, which is mainly gold. I'm going to show you the Zinger property here. It's a big property. There's a scale bar, 20 kilometers. If you look at Timmins Mining Camp, the central part of Timmins, where I worked for Noranda at one time, all of the deposits are 80, maybe 85% of all the deposits sit within a 20 kilometer strike length. So this property here could have a lot of potential, and we think it does, because down in the southern part here, we have these 3 target areas, and these are more orogenic style mineralization. Up here, we have 3 intrusives that are 10 kilometers apart. The central one, the guard target that we're going to talk about now. And these are intrusive related gold. This is a picture, and I have samples here if people want to see them, of the granite that hosts the gold. This piece here has sheeted veins. There's sheeted veins in this granite, and this one runs 1.36 grams per ton gold. Which when you walk over this in the field, you would think it's nothing. Like I call it leverite. It was only the prospectors who found this. Banging enough rock to all of a sudden see these little veins which are masked within this granite. And it's visible gold. It's just gold. You do get gold on pyrite as well. So it's not a simple thing to explore for, but you just have to sample a lot. This is a geology map. You can see here that's 500 meters for scale. So this Gar intrusive, the pink area, is about 1,200 meters long by about 600 meters across, 700 meters across. These are grab samples. The red things are the actual sheeted vein areas that we found on the surface. These samples, like 0.2 grams, 0.9 grams, 0.7, 0.4, 1.3, 2.1, 28.8 grams here. Now that's float. Granite float with quartz vein in it. All right? And this is all overburdening here. And then you see up here, you're getting more of the sheeted veins, and you're getting 0.5, 0.6, 9 grams. Sorry, that's 5 grams, 6 grams. So we're getting gold in there. We get a lot of dusters in here too, but it's an indication that there is gold in this system. This, when we took over this property, we acquired it from another company back in 2007. They went in and did a soil survey. This is their soil survey. So the blue is anywhere from 5 to 25 ppb gold. The green is 25 to 50. The yellow is 50 to 100, and the red is over 100 ppb. 100 ppb gold in a granite is pretty something. 5 to 25 is a lot for a granite. You don't get granites with gold in them. This anomaly is 1,600 meters. Look at this anomaly. Another beautiful gold anomaly. And you see the little intrusive here going on in the sediments. This SKF unit is a scar, and it's hornfells. So we know we're in the carapace of an intrusive causing this hornfells. And here we have a beautiful gold anomaly in the carapace with an intrusive there. This has never been drilled, but it's just not gold. Here's what molybdenum looks like in the carapace of the intrusive at depth. And you see the gold there, and then we get bismuth. So these are all the classic mineral signatures you should have for one of these types of deposits. At 1,600 meters, never been drilled. We're flying this area plus the intrusive that's 5 kilometers to the north, so we're flying a big belt. Because we believe that there's more than just this. We believe this, what we're seeing at surface, and this area here, by the way, if I go back the slide, here, this area where the 28 grams is, that's all overburden, it's float. So you can't see this in here. And where the pink is in the middle, that's a swamp. Okay? So, never been drilled. That's the plan. Fly the airborne, identify some structures. There are trails in here from logging. The issue with this area is that the bridge was taken out in the government's wisdom 15 years ago. Bad move. I mean, this is, we'll have to look at permitting to put the bridge back in. We'd have to use helicopter, but we'll probably do the permit. That'd be the approach. So now we've talked about the Lewis Ridge target area, the Tackle Basin target area, the Gar intrusive, and now this target we call the David. The David target is a high-grade, shear-hosted, orogenic style gold mineralization. Discovered in 1990 by prospectors. Junior company drilled about 60 holes back in the 90s, then walked away from it. It's a shear zone that has been traced in drilling for about 200 meters with a zone of mineralization that can go up to 50, 100 grams per ton. I'll show you a sample of it. It's a brittle ductile shear across a 4 to 5 meter wide width, but there's a central core. This is some of the core from the drilling that was done. This is all the core that we have from the drilling that was done previously. And they hit this really high-grade zone. That's 196 grams per ton over 0.8 meters. The black material is a sooty sulfide. It's copper, it's pyrite, copper, lead, zinc. At least that's from the XRF, we can tell. We didn't want to analyze it because we want to keep it as a sample. But you get this too. That's 21 grams in here per ton gold. And you can see the copper mineralization in the malachite staining. You get sericite carbonate, silicification in this 4 to 5 meter wide zone, but the central core of a meter to a meter and a half is where you get your highest grades. This is a longitudinal section showing the historical drilling in the area as well as the holes we put in, these 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Which supports that this is probably along this longitudinal, there would be a rake of this mineralized zone to the north. Now last November, December, we wanted to drill up here, but there was too much snow coming down, it was steep, and we didn't have the roads built. So we went this way to test this way, and we see more of this, the same David shear down here. We see mineralization in it, some of it looks interesting, and we even saw some better folding, but not with the gold, so we're reassessing that area. Right now the drill is up here, and it's drilling in this area up in here. We're doing a couple of holes in here just to test things. So we'll be coming out with those results probably when we get the assays, which could be 3 months from now, when everything's finished. We talk about infrastructure. That's the beauty of working in a mineral district or a mining district. These are power lines right adjacent to the gold shear property. They go all the way along our gold shear property, which is down here, through our Eddy property, and across our Vine property here. And the Vine property is the next property we want to talk about. The Vine property has there's a Vine vein, it's a vein, massive sulfide, and this new massive sulfide zone that we've intersected, and we believe is similar to a Sullivan type, and we're on the fringe of it. The Vine vein itself is right here. It was discovered by Cominco in 1976. This is our core facility. It's owned by a fellow named Dave Pegan. He owns the surface rights. We own the mineral rights for this. So Dave consults for a number of companies, and people use this core facility. These are all the core racks from our drilling and other people's drilling in the region. It's great access. This photo, by the way, was taken in February 2015. So Dave Pegan, who owns this, he was the geologist that discovered the Vine vein for Cominco. When they discovered it, they were really excited. They figured that there was a Sullivan deposit, somewhat flat lying at depth, and this vertical vein had come through it and remobilized material. And this is why. This is a sample of the Vine vein material at surface. And you can see the grades. They're amazing. Zinc, 15%, lead, 17%, copper, 0.5%, silver, 185 grams per ton, gold, 4.4 grams per ton. When Cominco hit this, they figured they had it. They staked everything in the countryside. They then drilled the vein, but they also drilled down to what would be the Sullivan time. I'm going to show you this cross-section in a minute. And they didn't hit anything, so they left. We came in and we consolidated this ground. Junior drilled this in the 90s, the vein, and then we came in, and it took us about 4 years to consolidate the ground in relation to this vein, as well as all the ground around it. And we did a large magnetotelluric survey. So where the vein is, we did a large gravity survey. Because massive sulfide like the Sullivan would have a gravity response. And we got a beautiful response, and it wasn't where the vein is, it was to the north and east. We drilled on one of those gravity anomalies, and we put quite a few holes in it, and we were going into a big deformation zone above a major fault. Right? That deformed zone was about 200 meters wide at its widest. And in that, we have an area that's about 500 meters long strike length, where we see zinc mineralization. We'll even get bands of beautiful massive sphalerite. But we're not hitting the massive, it's folded. We believe it's more like a broken hill. And the problem is, sphalerite has no geophysical signature. It has no, it's not magnetic, it's not conductive, so it's really a drilling job. We came in and did magnetotellurics and magged over this whole area, over the one gravity node. And our second hole hit this. We hit massive sulfide. It's about 3.5 meters, 4 layers. It's bedding conformable, I'll say. It's been deformed. What you're looking at are big rounded clasts of quartz with chloride in it. It grades about this 1.4 meter thick section, had 0.5% copper, 0.6% lead, 0.4% zinc, 7.6 grams per ton silver. And here's the interesting thing, 195 ppm nickel and 263 ppm cobalt. So Trig Hoy was saying he's an expert on Sullivan and everything. He said this is clearly a magmatic source. This is something that would be similar to the Sullivan. But even the Sullivan, he's not aware of the nickel. So what we believe we've hit, and we've looked at the Sullivan, it's a huge report on the Sullivan, and they have the same Deutsch Pivet, this is texture they call it, in the mine, Deutsch Pivet texture. And it's in the ore zone, it's also peripheral to the ore zone. And where they've got this Deutsch Pivet texture with this kind of grade could be within 1,000 meters of ore at the Sullivan. Dave and another Cominco geologist who saw this said no one, Cominco never hit anything like this outside the Sullivan Basin. So this is new. Why is it so new? Here's our drill hole, well, 1948. We hit that new massive sulfide zone right here. And we were debating if it was a vein, and then we did downhole geophysics, and it actually mirrored beautifully with our stratigraphy. But also, we knew that it was massive sulfide that was from a venting, because right here, and the Sullivan is in an environment where you have venting, C4 venting. That's 39 meters of massive limestone. Massive. It's recrystallized. It's sitting wrapped up in this gabbro. But it is clearly not a sedimentary. It has to be a venting hydrothermal because we're in turbidites. This is deep water. You don't get carbonate in this except when you're around a vent. So we've got 39 meters of massive carbonate. We go through the gabbro, we come out, we're back in sediments, and we get this granophyls here. Now, granophyls is an alteration related to, we sent it off to for thin section work, and Craig Leach, who did all the thin section work at the Sullivan, said it's classic granophyls. He said it's identical to what you get under the Sullivan deposit. Under the Sullivan deposit is a thick granophyls alteration zone. This is 80 meters thick. Our MT anomaly that we have here is huge. It's 800 meters in diameter. The top of it is our massive sulfide zone. The bottom of it is way down here. That's where we kept drilling. This is 800 meters. That's 1,800 meters. We drilled an 1,800 meter hole to go through that whole thing, and we still don't know what the center of this is. Yet the downhole geophysics sees this beautiful because we have the sample. It's 17,000 Siemens, if there's a geophysicist here, which is super conductive. So what could be causing the core of this big anomaly? We don't know. It's something we still have to work on. But over here, Dave Pegan, the geologist that was with Caminco, worked with a junior, and they drilled through the vine vein. Here's the vine vein. And they hit this massive sulfide zone, 3.5 meters almost, a 5% lead, 2.7% zinc, 1.2 ounces silver. He said it was bedded just like Sullivan, and it also looked like that Deutsche Bivette texture. So we believe, while it's below the football quartzite, just like ours is, we believe that this horizon is the pregnant horizon. Why didn't Caminco discover this? Why did something like this miss, right? Well, Caminco was looking, and it only drilled to Sullivan time horizon. There's Sullivan time horizon on the property. Here, there it is there, there it is there, there it is there. So when they discovered the vine vein, they drilled down to here. Stop the hole. Stop the hole. They never even drilled over here. They never knew about this MT or gravity. And when they didn't hit a massive sulfide, they walked away. If they'd gone deeper, they might have hit this. So that's how things get missed in these great mining camps. This is a plan view of the magnetotelluric survey. The yellow is the MT anomaly. The gray dots are where we did stations every 100 meters. So this is a kilometer by kilometer grid. And we could model that in 3 dimensions. So this area here is like a huge tube plunging down in this direction. And where we hit our massive sulfide, new massive sulfide zones, right at the top of it right there. Here is where Dave drilled the hole back in 1990 that hit the other massive sulfide. Now, the massive sulfide was, this is the vine vein structure, which is dipping to the west, and it was on the east side of the structure by the time they hit that massive sulfide. This is actually the vine vein. So we know that magnetotellurics is seeing conductive mineralization because the pyrrhotite we showed you, the lead zinc, that's highly conductive. So it's seeing it. And we don't know, we didn't know what this was, but it's shallow. According to the geophysicists, it's very shallow. So we drilled a shallow hole in it, and we were in the overburden. So then we talked to the rancher who has, this is a grazing field here. And he said, well, his pipeline, he has an irrigation pipe, 8-inch diameter aluminum pipe that's buried 3 feet under the ground. And we went to the geophysicist and said, that's what we believe is causing it. They said it couldn't be. Aluminum pipe on its own, although it's very conductive, wouldn't be causing this. And we said, the problem is it's sitting right under a power line. So the power line is energizing the aluminum pipe, and it's giving us a beautiful MT response. This is a highly conductive anomaly. The core of this big anomaly, like I said, it's 800 meters this way, but it's also 800 meters vertical. The core of that anomaly is as conductive, and that's down to 1,400 meters, by the way, the core, is as conductive as this. And our downhole geophysics that we see, I'm just looking where my thing is, the downhole geophysics, so that would be down here, sees absolutely nothing. And there's an explanation for that, but that's going to save the next time when we get the data. So we have not only a bedded massive sulfide horizon like the Sullivan, and we did one line of MT out here that shows our MT anomaly keeps going this way, so we have to increase the grid. And we believe this thing is dipping in this direction, and this is probably where the Sullivan would be. And it would probably be down around 1,200 to 1,400 meters, based on our geology and what we can estimate. So that's a great target. This is infrastructure. Once again, that's the beauty of being in a mining camp. This is CPR's rail yard and their quarry. All of their railroad ballast for Western Canada is mined out of this quarry. This is Gabro. No sulfide in it, so it's a dirt. They stockpile it here, you see the rail cars, and then they rail it throughout all of Western Canada along this main line here. This is the same line that took the concentrate from the Sullivan mine, which is to the north, to the trail smelting. This is Highway 3, by the way, that goes through southern BC. Cuts right through our property. Here's Cranbrook, here's our mine property, there's a trail smelter complex, where all the Sullivan ore, concentrate I should say, was processed at Trail. We have Vancouver. We're on rail. We make a discovery, whether it's at the Lewis Ridge, if there is a Sullivan there, whether it be here at the Vine, we can put it on rail and take it to Valleyfield for Glencore. We can go to the U.S. to Doe Lens facilities in Missouri. Those companies are already talking to us, Tech's talking to us. Everybody, we make a discovery, they all want it, which is a good position for us to be in. So in summary here, you can see we have the Lewis Ridge target, the Taco Basin target, the Gar target, the David target, the new massive sulfide zone. We have 25 target areas. We've only shown you a couple. There are more than we can talk about. Our strategy is pretty simple. We call this the pyramid to discovery. At the top of the pyramid is your discovery. At the bottom of the pyramid is where you don't have any data. And you're building a land package. That's where we were in 2011, and we've been building it ever since. This broad base is because we have no data. So we have a range of data that we need to get. Geological to geochemical and geophysical. The more data we get, the better we are at identifying our targets. The more data we get, the less unknown data we get, and this pyramid narrows. And as we get more data, we need less data, and we're more confident in our work. So these targets are slowly moving up the pyramid to the point where we end up having a discovery. What we've done is we've called this, we only name them and we only announce them publicly when we see them getting up into this range. So we have the David we talked about, we have the new massive sulfide zone we talked about, we have the Gar we've talked about, the Lewis Ridge, the Tackle. There are others here that are going to come, but we haven't talked about the DD. Why do we do this? Everyone knows the chance of making a discovery, first off, it's a numbers game. The more targets we have, the greater the chance of making a discovery. By focusing on an area with a large mineralizing system that already is a proven producer that has a Sullivan, plus all the gold in the creek, our chances are going to increase. The best part about it is whatever we do discover has a greater chance of going in production because we're based in Canada. Okay? So we do have rules of law. We'll see what happens on Monday with the vote. But we have all this potential, and the great thing about the Cranbrook area is the Sullivan's here. Placer gold mining has been going on since 1864, and to the east is where Teck has all their coal fields. So not only do the communities understand it, the First Nations understand it. It's one First Nations group, the Tenah for the whole region. Very cooperative. They have a casino here, multiple golf courses. They want development. They signed an agreement with the BC government in 2016, I think it was, that they'll get half of the BC government's tax on any new mines. So they're already committed to the opportunity. And we meet with them periodically just to give them updates. So hopefully our pyramid, one of these is going to make it. And the beauty of this is we still do work on these. And the advantage of having all of our properties in the same geological environment is we don't have properties in Quebec, in Mexico, or anywhere else, is the geological understanding we learn from even here or here can be applied to the other targets. So it's the economies of scale. So we're hopeful that we're going to make one of those discoveries. Thank you very much. Just in time for questions before everyone runs. Yes?
How much money in the bank do you have to do all this, and what's your prognosis for raising more?
Okay, we raise money as we need it. We've been very successful. We have, we're at 123 million shares outstanding. We trade about 18 cents to 30 cents. Our highest was 32, I think it was. 60% of our shares are held by about 10 people. They've been in since the beginning because we've never shown this pyramid of discovery. We've actually never shown. This is the first time anyone's seeing this. And the reason why is because we've consolidated all the ground. We finally got the last piece, which was Imperial Metals Estella deposit. We got that just about a month ago. So they've been in, they see the potential. Their idea is they're in it for not the quick turnaround, they're in it for the multi-generational potential of this. And what I mean by that is When we make a first discovery, that is going to trigger the next. It's going to be like popcorn. They're just going to start to pop, and we're going to get multiples going. And so to answer your first part of the question, when we need the money, we go back and do it. We don't raise more than we really need. So right now we have about 1.4 million in the bank. And that's going to get us through this drilling program. It's going to get us through the geophysicals. We've already paid for the geophysics, the 2 big surveys. And we're getting people very interested. We had announced the GAR, all right, intrusive, with the sheeted veins. We were getting calls. People want to come and look at it. Now that we've announced the tackle and the Lewis Ridge, I expect there are going to be some other people wanting to see that. And we have more to come. So I'm not worried about raising money. It's more what we're going to spend it on. And we've been very, very frugal. There are only 2 employees in the company. There's myself and our CFO, Linda Brennan. We're the co-founders of the company. She lives in Vancouver. I live in Toronto, but I spend most of my time in Cranbrook. So it's everyone else are consultants. And the beauty of having consultants is we can get the best people, and those are mostly the people that live in Cranbrook and Kimberley that work for Cominco and everyone. Plus, we can bring in different technologies, like the geophysics and everything else we're doing. So I'm not worried about raising money, and we did a deal last year. Cisco. I don't know if you know Cisco, but Cisco Global Loyalties or Cisco Development, they split up last year. Cisco is a mid-tier company. They're fairly well off. I don't know how many hundreds of millions they have now. Last year, we got the former chairman of Cisco to join our board. He was ex-Cominco. He was a CFO at Cominco for back in the 70s and 80s. When we showed him what we just shown you, he was blown away. That's why he wanted to join the board. He then, and we've been trying to get people to come. We've been trying to get these geologists and these majors to come, right? One fellow from Barracks been watching us, and he goes, when you hit, we want to be there. That's great, but you're going to be there too late because there's going to be a whole group of people. So Cisco, Vic is his name, he got the Cisco guy to come. He came in 2 days. He said, okay, we want to be in. So we got to deal with the Cisco where they bought a 0.5% royalty in, they wanted a 0.5% royalty in everything. And we said, no, we'd only do a deal on the gold, which would be the Dooney Trail, the Zinger, the Eddy, and the Gold Share. So they bought a 0.5% royalty, NSR, on something that doesn't even have a discovery yet. And they paid $1 million for it. Then they put $1 million into a financing because they wanted to have a piece of the company, because having a piece of the company gives them a piece of everything. So we've got a Cisco, and that was 2 days, and they were the first company to come and take a look. So my expectation, and this is forward-looking, I don't know what's going to happen, our expectation isn't to go and drill all these. Our expectation is to advance them. The DD property down here, Tech came in and did a deal with us on that. They drilled a hole to 1,400 meters, and they stopped 60 meters short of the target by mistake. The geologists stay out on the drill, didn't know the terrain, didn't know what it's like. Our geologist, Dave Began, went in, looked at the core and said, you guys have to drill deeper. But this was December in 2019, or 2018, I should say. And the head brass said, we'll wait till next year. And then things happened, COVID hit, and they walked away from the property. A junior's done a deal for us, DLP Resources, and they're drilling on there. They drilled one, they extended that hole and drilled 2 more holes. And we're talking deep holes. They're 1,800 meters. All right? But they have this big magnetotelluric target down there. So on our scale here, we put DD here, that magnetotelluric, because they're just waiting for the permit. And they should probably get the permit. They could get it next month. If they do, they'll be drilling a hole on that. So we have ourselves the opportunity of partnering with people, of raising money if we need, and getting other people to spend the money. And our thinking is, let's say we get somebody on the GAR property. You know, it doesn't, mid-size, even a major. They're drilling there, great. They make a discovery, that's fantastic. We still have everything else, and like the others. So people are, that's what our main base of shareholders are looking for. We're finally at the point where we've got it to this. We're finally up here in this kind of range. Will all of these make it? Probably not. We just need one of them. One of these down here could actually make it even before these. You know, they could put a logging road, they could go log somewhere, and all of a sudden they hit something, and that could skyrocket up to here, or one of the others. There must be another question, nobody? No? Thank you very much. Oh, wait, there's one.
Just when you were talking about your pyramid to discovery,
Yeah.
at what point, like, do you have, is that a percentage? Like, at what point do you have enough, like,
Yeah.
do you have thresholds that you need to pass, because just having geochemical and geophysical data may not be.
The geological, geochemical, and geophysical data is done by either surface sampling or drilling. It can come from drilling as well.
You're narrowing that.
Exactly. So
Like,
these
you-
These properties here will have more drilling than these properties. Essentially, to get up into this range, you're gonna have some drilling, something that's got some significance to it.
Yeah.
And it's not, there's no number or anything, it's more just a gut feeling of looking at what we have and what the potential is in that area. And one of these may fail, and it'll drop down and something else will replace it. But we wanna always have something in the pipeline, so it's a pipeline thing, keep feeding the system, and then eventually you'll have a discovery. You're welcome.
Thank you as well. And on behalf of the membership, special thanks to Byron of Overmine and of course John of PJX for presenting today. And by the way, lunch cost was offset today because of their generous sponsorship of today. And please again join me in thanking them for that contribution and presentations today. John has some time. I know there's some samples, and
Yes.
you're welcome to approach him. And on a business matter from the MEGS, by the way, I'm sure everyone knows that Mr. Al Turner has stepped down as president. He has a full-time commitment in Nevada. He's picked a better climate. Don't know why. That gentleman over there in purple, you know who he is. Macari has stepped in as interim president. So we have our annual meeting and elections come December of this year. And the other item, we're keeping membership the same going forward, but we're looking at other venues, but please be aware, there's a couple of them out there, including this. All-in costs are $30 for lunch now, so we're looking at, again, upping that lunch cost, and if we don't get offset, we'll pass that on, just to really stay break even. Hopefully everyone understands that piece of the business, and other than that, welcome to mingle as much as you like, safely, and both Byron and John are available to you. Thank you.
Yes.
It is. I didn't realize when I was looking here that the screen was split.
Yeah. Don't worry about it. I was gonna comment, but I was like, let him.
Yeah.
My,
Switched it.
yeah, my bad.
These are all the different rods.
Yeah. I'm gonna see if they're interested in what they're.
Very good. Oh, sorry, I'm taking your spot here.
No worries.
Oh, which one? The one you brought out. What? Oh, red? Ruby red. Yeah, ruby red. Oh, okay. I can't. I'm on your property. Yeah. Pardon me? What's your name?
Quick question. Did Glenn Jones came around this area last few minutes? Glenn, yeah. Oh, you haven't seen him today? Oh, okay. No worries then. We wanted to talk to him for a second. What? Yeah, I was thinking as well.
Pretty is complicated. It is. What you think is going to happen doesn't happen. Exactly. The thing is the more we learn, the more it improves.
Yeah, but to me, the thing that sold me initially, not geology so much, they had access to all the chemical geologists. They're all retired, the chemical guys, they're all there in the area. And access was prohibited, but it's a very heavily forested area by and large. Yeah. Finally, like Kameko had all the ground, so there was no explanation. Exactly. And so when Kameko started dropping stuff, the guys got excited. Anyway, this is, and that's the thing people don't realize is they think everything would have been found, but it's not. It's
No, it's as long. There's some places which that people cannot see, and they don't sell.
We're Sullivan was found prospecting, basically.
Yep.
No, that's a great story. I just you're going to need a lot of time and a lot of luck, but that's okay.
Well, you know what? We've had the time. These targets we have, it's a matter of which one of them is going to go. We did the same thing on a much smaller scale in Plymouth. We discovered a nickel deposit in downtown Plymouth 2 years ago. That even the federal geologist for nickel for Ontario was one of the top in the world said we'll never find nickel. And after about 3 years we discovered we did discover it, and we couldn't believe it. It's because we used an Australian model. So this here, okay, that is what's sedimentary copper. You see this metallic right there?
What's stellar? I've been over the mine here.
Stella is a vein. It's a lead, zinc, silver vein, and you're welcome. Thank you. And it's
Nice.
Canadian. And then there's more.
Sorry if I'm
coming
interrupting.
around, so they remind me of the actual intrusion. They remind me of the vein.
The concern I heard about is that the Aldrich has iron in it. And that's why they never did airborne airway.
No, it still works. You can't do it. This is Sullivan ore, actually. So is that. This is what Sullivan. This is like what we hit. This is what we hit. Here's our fabric. That's it. Yeah.
Neat. Anyway,
This here runs
Nice.
3 grams per ton gold. It's a huge alteration system. It's massive solicitor. 60, 70 meters across, goes for hundreds of meters. People have been trying to get gold out of that thing. Our prospectors went in, finally found some. This is the guard. This is your intrusive. That's what runs like a gram, half gram, and up to 28 grams. And when you get 28 grams, you start to see values like this. And this is the vine vein. So there's a picture of what I showed up there. You know, that's where it's 15% zinc, 18% lead. And these are iron oxide breccias. They run gold. We haven't talked about that one. That's one to come. This is Sullivan ore. You can see the bedded nature. But it also has that joint in it. It's just like this. The same kind of thing that happens. And this is the sediment hosted copper. And an expert whose item was observed the Kamoa Kakula deposits in Africa. Kamoa Kakula in Africa, big sedimentary hosted copper deposit. This fellow is an expert. I took a course and he was giving it, and I showed him this rock after. You can see the malachite there. You get bornite and calcite just in these little beds. He saw this and he asked where I got it from. He said it was from Canada. And he said, it is identical to the Kamoa copper belt. And he asked, how could this be in Cranbrook and no one's discovered it? Well, our prospectors were looking for gold on our Eddy property, and they found boulders in this. So then they just traced the boulders up the mountain, and they found it right in the cliff. The bed of it. It's never been explored, and Kameko's been there for, 100 years? So you've got all this potential.
Which property is that from?
That's our Parker copper. And this is the kind of mineralization you see. You see the iron carbonate, the ground, with all the quartz veins. This is what you see on the Dooney Trail. So when you get an increase in this kind of fracturing and veining, is where you get your major gold.
Oh.
I think that's the source of the plasma.
Yeah, one of the main ones. But it's a big area, so it's a matter of where we want to focus on.
Good luck. Excellent.
Good. Nice. Interesting.